I started this YouTube channel and brand just over 4 years ago. And honestly, over the course of that time, I have learnt so much and grown and developed as a result. I have learnt some key lessons when it comes to building a brand, which I'm going to share with you in today's video. And I'm going to highlight 5 key lessons in particular that can really make a difference if you plan to start your own brand, whether that's a YouTube channel, having some kind of social media presence, or even opening a full-blown business, because these are some really, really important considerations that sometimes people often forget. Number 1, it's never about you. It's all about your audience. Now, this can be a hard one to wrap your head around sometimes, because when you start a brand, in whichever way, shape or form that may look for you, whether it's starting a YouTube channel or opening a business, it usually stems from some kind of inner passion that you have, something that you really enjoy, something that you are very fond of. Except you've got to take that focus at some point from internal and switch it to external, because just because you like something doesn't mean you're going to be creating the right kind of content for other people to also enjoy. Now, when I started my brand, Ms. Britaly, I was essentially creating content as a Brit, a Londoner who moved to Italy in 2018. And I was sharing kind of what it was like to live here and taking you around different parts of Italy. Now, if I hadn't had the foresight to know that my content had to appeal to someone, I may very easily have found it difficult to build that community. And trust me, it took time to build, especially because my main focus was YouTube, and YouTube is a beast for building community. It's incredibly rewarding once you do, but it takes time to get to that point. But essentially, I was very aware that people wouldn't be interested in what I had for breakfast or come spend a day with me, because people don't know me. They're not invested in me enough to really be interested in those kinds of aspects of my life. People are intrinsically selfish. And this is something that I've read about in a few books, but specifically How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. He talks about this very thing. He says that if you plan to ask somebody for something, or if you're applying for a position, in a company, for example, don't waste time telling people what you can do, in your skill sets and everything else. Tell them what you can do for them and how they can benefit from you. And it's the same thing when it comes to building a brand. Rather than creating content that just highlights all your passions, you've got to create content that helps people to understand that you are helping them. So if you are a person that wants to share what you had for breakfast yesterday, and you've got to do it in a way that some other person who watches your content is going to benefit from that, whether they learn a new recipe, whether they decide to try something new for themselves and make some kind of diet change, whatever it may be, there has to be something in it for the other person in order for them to be interested in what you're producing. It's how we're wired as humans. It's intrinsic within us. So you've got to remember this when you're building a brand. It's not to say you can't inject who you are into your brand. I would say that I have definitely started to lean more into kind of sharing my personality and my interests more. And that has come on the back of the recent changes that I've made to my YouTube channel. But it does mean that your content must always provide some kind of value offering for your audience. It cannot just be all about what interests you, because at some point you've got to remember that your audience are giving up their time to consume what it is that you're creating. And so in a way, you want them to make sure that they feel like they haven't wasted their time in doing so. Lesson number 2, inspiration can strike anytime. This happens to me so much. In fact, the whole idea for this brand came to me whilst I was having a shower. And people say actually that the best ideas come to you when you're in the shower. I think this is so true. But I was umming and ahhing about starting this YouTube channel for a good couple of years. And then when I finally decided I was going to do it, then I started umming and ahhing about the name and what I was going to brand myself as and the concept. And the idea came in the shower because I wanted to bring together my British roots with the new life that I was building in Italy. And that's exactly how Miss Britaly came about. And in a way, I wanted to create this persona because it helped me in a way to separate the content that I was producing from, in a way, my everyday life. And it gave me an outlet, a way to express myself that wasn't directly linked into me. It was like an extension of me. So I really started to learn to listen to those ideas when they strike. And it's the same for video ideas. Some weeks I will really struggle as to what to do a video on. And then out of the blue, I'll be doing something completely unrelated and I'll have this idea and I'll be like, okay, let's run with it. And it usually ends up being a really, really good idea that turns into a really good performing video. And it's this: you've got to be ready to capture that inspiration when it strikes. This is why I think it's always really good to have like a little notebook on you, or even to have like a Google Docs file ready to capture those ideas when they come. Because even if it's something that you don't work on immediately, it's not to say that it might not help you in the future when you're looking through kind of the ideas that you've had about your brand. But just know that if you are stuck at the moment and you have no idea what to create, what you're working on, what your focus is, just know that inspiration can come at any time, and be open to receiving it. Inspiration doesn't always come when you're sitting at your desk. It's often when you start doing something else and your mind is free to wander and to relax a little bit that those thoughts will come. So pay attention to them, because sometimes you can find some real golden nuggets among them. Lesson number 3, change is inevitable. I have changed my brand so much since 2021. I started off with this really loud, booming trailer on YouTube and kind of like content that wasn't really the best quality in terms of video quality and audio quality. And then I kind of transitioned and I really started to focus my content on tourists and on people who wanted to move here. Then I transitioned it more into people who wanted to move here. And now I've just made yet another change to my brand to incorporate also other aspects of building a life here. So focusing on mindset, focusing on personal growth and development, focusing on building a brand, all the other key things that my life is full of here in Italy, as well as incredible books that I love to read as well. And this is it. Like, your brand should never stay the same. Otherwise, it becomes stale and stagnant. You've got to embrace change and you've got to go with the flow a lot. And this is what I've really learned. Like, you will find a lot of the top brands, whether it be YouTube creators, whether it be actual physical companies, they've changed a lot over the years, whether it's their logo, whether it's their tone, whether it's the content that they produce. There is always some kind of an evolution. And it's important to embrace that, because too many people are afraid of change because they associate it with so many negative things. But I actually think to not change should be the negative association, because at some point, people get bored, people want more, people want something different. And if you are a content creator, for example, and that can mean that you start losing engagement, you start losing audience members, you start losing followers, because people can no longer resonate with you and what you're producing, or they want something extra which you are not able to produce in that moment. And so don't be afraid of change. Change for me has always led me somewhere better. And I always feel better after having made the change than when I was just stuck in kind of analysis paralysis. So make those changes with confidence. Every change takes you somewhere new. Yes, there are risks. Yes, there are uncertainties and unknowns, but far better to be in that kind of situation where you're growing and evolving and potentially improving your life as a result, than to stay stuck and stagnant and know that what you have is what you'll always have, because nothing changes if nothing changes. The 4th lesson is that you learn from doing. I have always been that person that, like, when they say they're going to do something, they do it. I am not the person to talk about something, and then just never do it again, or just, the idea fades away. Now, I have been guilty recently of allowing myself to feel like I've taken the action because I've been talking about it too much. I speak a bit more about it in this video up here, but essentially, normally, when I say I want to do something, I do it. And I'm very real with myself in that way. And it is through doing that you learn. So many people wait until they are at a point of perfection, whether it's you've got the website perfect, or the branding, or the slogan, or the logo, whatever it is. People wait until they feel they are ready. You are never going to feel ready. You just have to hit publish in whichever format you're working on, and you've just got to launch whatever it is that you want to do. Like, I have changed a lot. Some of my early content makes me absolutely cringe, but it's there for the world to see because it shows my evolution, it shows my growth, and it shows that I have been learning through doing. Because when you start doing, you realize the areas you need to improve on. You realize how you can get better, and you put the work in and you make that happen. And so as a result, everything you produce increases in quality the more practice you can put in and the more you actually do what it is that you need to do. And so don't wait until the perfect moment. Learn through doing. Like, honestly, this is the biggest piece of advice I could give to anybody who wants to build a brand. Don't wait for perfection. You will change and chop and change your mind multiple times as you develop your brand. It's okay. The important thing is you are learning and you are growing and you are taking action. And the fifth lesson is that comparison will absolutely creep in. This is the thing when you build a brand, in whichever context you may be building it in. At some point you start looking around you and you start pitting yourself against other people who have larger subscribers or larger followers or a more successful business, and you start tearing apart like what you're working on because you're comparing yourself to those people. There is that really, in a way, it's so cliched, but it's so true. You can never compare your beginning with somebody's, like your chapter 1 with somebody's chapter 20 or something. You cannot do that. Like, that person has been exactly where you are, but they're not there anymore. They have evolved. They are much further along the line. And whilst it's good sometimes to do this kind of comparison, because it's always good to surround yourself with people who are ahead of you, because it pulls you up, it motivates you to continue, it's never a good idea to only look at those people, because essentially you will always feel behind because you are not where they are yet. They've had to go through a lot of lessons, a lot of growth to arrive at that point. And so sometimes you need to find people who are more similar to where you are at in terms of followers or subscribers or the size of the business, whatever it may be, and use those people as your way to kind of gauge how you're doing. When you look too far ahead, you forget that all the steps that these other people have had to take to arrive there. I think it's good to have people like that as your end goal, like somebody you can look up to and admire and learn from, but it's not good to solely be comparing yourself to those people, nor is it really good anyway to compare yourself, because we are all so different. We live such different lives and we have so many different variables and experiences that it's almost impossible to pit yourself against other people because we're all so different. And so why would you want to? So I kind of feel as well, tied into that, you have to stay true to you. I've been so guilty of this with my brand. I will look at other people who are living in Italy from other countries and sharing their experiences, and I'll be like, wow, look, they've got thousands upon thousands of followers, and wow, look how well they're doing. But as I've learned to grow my brand, and as I've been on this journey though, I have seen how some of those people have stagnated. They have not grown, because you never know what is going on in that person's life. This is why you cannot compare yourself to other people. You can look at people for inspiration, absolutely, but don't get stuck there. Essentially, search for the inspiration from within. Follow what it is that you want to do from within, and don't get lost looking around outside of yourself, because you lose focus of where you're going. When you're running the race, there's this really famous analogy of like running the race, except you don't end up finishing because you're too busy looking to the side of you and rather than focusing on the end goal. And it's exactly this. You've got to stay focused on what it is that you're working on and spend less time looking around you. Building a brand is a really, really exciting thing. I always find like the early stages of anything is where you feel the most excited. And then even as you evolve and grow, you can feel the same levels of excitement as you feel yourself progressing as a result. But it's something that takes a lot of hard work. And it's something that you've got to be really focused and committed to doing, because so many people think that they can come up with a name, come up with a concept, produce a couple of videos or some social media content, and they've got a brand. It's not like this. A brand takes work, it takes time, it takes development, it takes input from you, and ultimately it takes a form of consistency to really get yourself known, to really build up a community who can trust you, know you, and want to listen to you or buy from you, depending on what you're building. But don't give up, because I honestly feel so much satisfaction from growing my brand and from seeing where it's going to take me, that I almost feel it would be a shame if I had arrived at the point of perfection from the beginning. You've got to go through the messy journey of building a brand in order to really learn those lessons and appreciate the end result. I will see you in the next video.